Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're looking at an episode of Yasmin on the journey. And, she's tackling something I think we've all had to deal with at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Apartment hunting in a new city. It
Absolutely.
can be so stressful
Yes.
finding that perfect spot, but there's also that, excitement of a
Yeah.
fresh start.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a universal experience. And Yasmin's story really kind of captures both the practical stuff and the emotional weight that just comes with, settling into a new place.
Yeah.
It's like a microcosm of adapting to anything unfamiliar.
Right. So the episode kicks off with Yasmin just scrolling online, looking at listings, trying to narrow down her options.
Right.
It's funny how we all just gravitate towards that same starting point.
Yeah,
Like it's an instinct.
it really is.
But here's where it gets interesting. Beyond just clicking on pictures,
Mm.
the episode highlights the importance of understanding those lease terms and things like tenant rights.
Oh, that's such a good point. You get all excited about a cool space, but then you overlook the fine print, and that can lead to
Oh, yeah.
so many headaches later on.
Absolutely. Totally.
Thinking about security deposits and pet policies, or even understanding who's responsible for repairs.
Right.
All those details really impact your living experience.
Yeah. And speaking of details, the episode showcases some really useful phrases Yasmin uses when she's talking to the real estate agent.
Oh, yeah.
She asks about monthly rent, what utilities are included, and if she can even decorate.
Uh-huh.
Those seem like pretty simple questions,
Yeah.
but they're so strategic.
They are. I mean, those are prime examples of how good communication just makes the whole rental process so much smoother. Can you imagine being unsure about even those basic details? I mean, talk about stress misunderstandings.
Absolutely.
By asking those direct questions, Yasmin takes control of the situation, and she makes sure she's getting all the information she needs. Plus, those phrases, you can use them in other real-life stuff, too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
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 Okay, let's talk numbers.
Okay.
The apartment she's looking at has a monthly rent of $1,800,
Okay.
which includes water and heating, but needs a 1-month security deposit.
Oh, wow.
It makes you think about how crucial budgeting is,
Right.
especially in a new city where, costs could be so different.
This brings up a really important point.
Yeah.
Moving to a new city, you often have to adjust that budget.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever thought about using a cost of living calculator
Oh, that's a good idea.
to compare your current city to your potential new one?
Yeah.
These tools can be so helpful to understand, the financial shift.
Right.
Plus, don't forget about all the unexpected expenses, like moving costs and setting up utilities, all that stuff. And the episode doesn't just focus on, the money stuff.
Right.
It also goes into Yasmin's emotional journey.
Yeah. We see her taking a walk after she sees the apartment, giving herself time to process everything before she makes a decision.
Yeah.
I think we can all relate to needing that space to think things through,
Right.
especially with a big change like that.
I would even say it's more than just relatable.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing how much our decisions weigh on us emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
especially where we choose to live.
Right.
There's this whole field of environmental psychology that studies how our surroundings affect how we feel.
Mm.
Have you ever noticed how your mood changes
Oh, yeah.
depending on where you are?
Absolutely. Yeah. I can feel a difference when I'm in a space that's calm and organized
Right.
versus one that's cluttered and chaotic.
Totally.
It makes you realize how important it is to choose a home that fits your needs and what you like,
Yeah,
not just, checking things off a list.
exactly. And that brings us to another interesting thing.
Okay.
In the episode, Yasmin thinks about not just the apartment, but the whole neighborhood around it. She notices things like parks, public transportation, and even the coffee shops.
Right. It's like she's trying to get a sense of what the community's like.
Yeah,
And if she can see herself fitting in,
for sure.
I guess it goes back to that idea of finding a place that feels like you, like your lifestyle.
Precisely. And that often means doing some research,
Yeah.
not just looking at the apartment itself.
Right.
Online forums, checking out local blogs, even Google Maps,
Oh, yeah.
just to get a feel for the neighborhood can
Oh.
give you a sense of its character.
That's such a good tip. I can already see myself reading online reviews for coffee shops. So
Yeah.
It's like a little adventure before the actual move. But speaking of moving, the episode really shows that mix of excitement and apprehension
Yeah.
that comes with making such a big decision.
Uh-huh.
It's like jumping off a cliff and hoping you land somewhere amazing.
It really is a leap of faith, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think what's so smart about this episode is how it shows Yasmin weighing the pros and cons.
Yeah.
You know, she writes down her thoughts, she talks to a friend, and then finally trusts her gut.
Right.
That kind of thoughtful decision-making, it can be so empowering, don't you think?
I think so, yeah. And I like how the episode shows how important it is to get different perspectives.
Yeah.
Talking things over with someone you trust can give you valuable insights and even help you see things you hadn't thought of before.
Uh-huh.
Plus, it's always good to have someone to talk to about those anxieties and all that excitement.
It is. It is. It's
Right.
all about finding that balance between practical planning and emotional smarts.
Yeah.
Choosing a home is a big deal.
Yeah,
So it makes sense to use both your head and your heart.
right. That's so true. Okay, before we move on to the next part of Yasmin's journey, let's recap what we've learned so far.
Okay.
We talked about understanding lease terms, clear communication with real estate agents, budgeting, and, acknowledging the emotions involved.
Uh-huh.
But there's one more thing I want to mention.
Okay.
Safety.
Oh, right.
The episode touches on this when Yasmin mentions checking crime stats for the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that feeling safe in your new place is super important.
That is such a good point.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond just those crime stats. It's
Right.
things like security in the building, the lighting on the street, and even how comfortable you feel walking around at different times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's trusting your gut and putting your safety first,
Yeah,
which is extra important when you're somewhere new.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting how the episode weaves those safety concerns into Yasmin's decision-making.
Right.
It's not like a separate thing on a list.
Mhm.
It's part of finding a place where she feels good, at home.
It's like safety is the foundation for everything else,
Yeah,
like your budget and all that stuff.
exactly.
Without feeling safe, it's hard to really enjoy that new beginning,
Totally. It's about feeling like, okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm good. And speaking of that, the episode has this beautiful moment where Yasmin finally decides,
Mhm.
after thinking it through, she takes a deep breath and calls the agent.
Yeah.
I'd like to rent the apartment.
Wow.
It's such a powerful scene, full of anticipation and that sense of, I did it.
You know what that reminds me of? That scene in The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
When Frodo finally gets to Mount Doom.
Okay.
He's been through so much. But in that moment, there's like relief and this quiet determination.
Wow. That's a great comparison.
Yeah.
It really captures that mix of vulnerability and being resolute.
Yeah.
It's often like that with big life decisions. And it's not just about the destination, it's the whole journey that gets you there.
Right.
Think about everything Yasmin's learned.
Yeah.
Research, communication, negotiating, self-reflection.
Yeah.
These are skills she can use for anything, not just apartment.
It's like she leveled up in life.
Right?
It makes you think even something like finding an apartment can help you grow
Exactly.
and learn about yourself.
Absolutely.
But hold on, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
The episode reminds us that after getting the apartment,
Right.
there's a whole new set of challenges and, joys
Yeah.
that come with moving in.
That's where the fun really starts. The episode hints at those next steps.
Yeah.
Unpacking, decorating, getting to know the neighborhood.
Right.
It's about making that place yours.
Yeah.
Adding your personality, creating that sense of belonging.
It's funny how these little things,
Yeah.
like arranging furniture or putting up art,
Right.
can have such a big impact on how we feel.
It's so true.
It's turning a house into a home.
Precisely. And it's not a one-time thing.
Right.
It's ongoing.
Yeah.
Paying attention to how the space makes you feel and changing things up.
Right.
Maybe add a plant for some green.
Yeah.
Or move the lights around to make it cozy.
Uh-huh.
It's creating a sanctuary that reflects you and is good for you.
I'm already thinking about hitting up vintage shops for the perfect lamp.
I know, right?
Or scrolling through Pinterest for decorative ideas.
It's a whole new level of creativity and self-expression
Yeah.
once you've got the keys.
And it's not just about how it looks.
Right.
It's also about routines.
Yes.
Things that help you feel settled.
Exactly.
Maybe you find a favorite walking path or a cozy coffee shop to work from.
Yeah.
It's about becoming a part of your new community.
It really is like you're building a map of your new world,
Yeah.
finding those hidden gems,
Right.
creating that sense of familiarity in a place you don't know.
And you know what it makes me think of?
What's that?
It's like adapting to a new city is kind of like learning a new language.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, at first, Everything is so strange and overwhelming.
Yeah.
You're figuring out the streets,
Yeah.
trying to understand the local customs,
Uh-huh.
maybe even learning some new phrases.
Yeah.
But then as you spend time in the culture,
Yeah.
connect with people,
Right.
it starts to feel less like translating and more like a conversation.
That's such a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's like going from feeling detached
Right.
to feeling engaged and connected. And
Yeah.
it's not about forgetting who you are.
Right.
It's about making yourself richer
Yeah.
through these new experiences and people you meet.
It's like your sense of self grows to include this new place and its people.
That's beautiful.
And speaking of people,
Yeah.
the episode also talks about how important it is to make friends in a new city.
Uh-huh.
We see Yasmin chatting with her neighbors,
Right.
joining a book club,
Yeah.
even catching up with an old friend who lives nearby.
Their social connections are so important,
Yeah.
especially when you're feeling lost and unsure.
Right.
They give you a sense of belonging,
Yeah.
support, and like you're all in this together.
Yeah.
And it's not just about finding people who are just like you.
Right.
Sometimes the best connections
Yeah.
come from people who challenge you
Right.
and make you see things differently.
It's like putting together a new group of friends,
Yeah,
people who get what it's like to be new.
exactly.
It reminds me of something we haven't talked about yet.
Okay.
The potential to grow as a person
Uh-huh.
when you step outside your comfort zone.
Oh, yeah. That's a big takeaway from Yasmin's story.
Yeah.
By embracing the unknown
Right.
and going through those ups and downs of settling into a new city,
Yeah.
she's not just finding a place to live,
Yeah.
she's discovering new parts of herself.
It's like she's unlocking hidden potential and realizing she can do more than she thought.
Exactly. And that feeling can be so freeing.
Yeah.
It's about knowing that you're strong enough and adaptable enough to thrive anywhere.
It's like that feeling when you finally reach the top of a really hard hike.
Yeah.
You're tired, maybe a little scraped up,
Uh-huh.
but the view is incredible.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're probably ready for an even bigger mountain next
I
time.
love that. It
Yeah.
really captures that sense of achievement
Yeah.
and that boost in confidence.
That comes from pushing past your limits.
Totally.
And it's not just about the end goal.
Right.
It's the whole journey.
Yeah.
The tough parts, the things you learn, the growth you experience.
It's like every step, every stumble, every win
Yeah.
makes you stronger and more resourceful.
Exactly. That's what makes Yasmin's story so relatable and inspiring.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we all have that potential to grow and adapt.
Right.
We might feel unsure, we might have setbacks,
Mm-hmm.
but in the end, we have the power to create a fulfilling life wherever we choose.
So as we go into the last part of our deep dive,
Okay.
let's think about this idea of personal transformation.
Okay.
What parts of Yasmin's journey really speak to you?
Yeah.
What challenges have you faced when adjusting to new places?
Mhm.
And what have you learned along the way?
Yeah. It's amazing how just a story about finding an apartment can make you think so much about growing as a person and being resilient.
It really is. You know, it shows how powerful stories can be.
Yeah.
We connect with Yasmin's journey because it's like those universal things we all go through.
Right.
Change, challenges, trying to find where we belong.
Yeah, and like we've been saying, her story doesn't stop when she finds the apartment.
Exactly.
That's just the start of a whole new chapter,
It is.
full of possibilities.
Yeah, and the episode does a great job of showing us those possibilities.
Right.
We see Yasmin checking out her new neighborhood,
Yeah.
trying out cafes, even finding a local farmer's market.
It's like she's embracing that feeling of discovery,
Yeah.
letting herself be surprised by what the city has to offer.
It shows how important it is to stay curious and open when you're in a new place.
Right.
It's about going beyond what you're comfortable with
Yeah.
and being a learner again.
Totally.
Think about those first few weeks or months in a new place.
Yeah.
Everything is so new and exciting. You
Uh.
notice things you didn't before.
Right.
Your senses are heightened.
Yeah.
And you're taking in so much information.
It's like you're seeing the world with fresh eyes.
Exactly.
And that can be so energizing.
It really can.
It reminds me of when you travel to a new country,
Oh, yeah.
even the normal stuff,
Yeah.
like buying groceries or getting coffee,
Uh-huh.
becomes an adventure.
And as you go through those adventures,
Yeah.
you're going to have moments of frustration,
Right.
confusion. Maybe you get lost going back to your apartment or
Yeah.
have trouble understanding what people are saying.
Yeah.
But those are all part of learning.
Totally.
Yes?
It's about those moments of lost in translation and realizing their chances to grow and connect.
Yeah.
I remember when I first moved to a new city,
Oh, yeah.
I accidentally ordered something way too spicy at a restaurant.
Oh,
I
no.
was sweating, tearing up, probably turned bright red.
I can
But
imagine.
it was funny,
Yeah.
and it got me talking to the waiter who gave me some tips about the local food.
It's those unexpected moments
Yeah,
that really make the journey better, right?
absolutely.
They remind us that we're not alone in our struggles.
Right.
And they often lead to the best connections and discoveries.
And speaking of connections,
Uh-huh.
the episode shows how Yasmin slowly builds a community in her new city.
Right.
She goes to a neighborhood event,
Yeah.
volunteers,
Ah.
even joins a running club.
It's like she's actively becoming part of her new surroundings.
And that's so important for feeling at home somewhere new.
It really is.
It's not just about having a nice apartment.
Right.
It's about finding your people,
Yeah.
your tribe,
Mm-hmm.
those who get you
Exactly.
and can support you along the way.
You know, there's research that shows
Yeah.
having good friends is key for being happy, especially when things are changing and stressful.
It's like having a built-in safety net.
Yeah.
People who get the ups and downs of being new.
And it doesn't have to be a ton of people.
Right.
Even just one or two close friends can make all the difference.
Exactly. It's about having those deep connections.
It is.
And it's not always easy to put yourself out there,
Yeah.
especially when you're feeling unsure in a new place.
Right.
But it's so worth it.
It is. It really is.
It's like planting a seed and watching it grow.
Uh-huh.
You take care of those connections,
Yeah.
and they turn into friendships that make your life richer.
And as those friendships grow,
Yeah.
you become more a part of your community. You start to feel like you belong, like you found your place.
It's like that feeling of finally fitting into a puzzle.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of something we haven't really talked about yet.
Yeah.
The idea that home isn't just a physical place.
Right.
It's a feeling, a state of mind,
Yeah.
a sense of connection
Uh-huh.
that can be anywhere, no matter where you are in the world.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Yasmin's journey,
Okay.
let's think about this bigger idea of home.
Yeah.
What does home mean to you?
Mm.
Is it a certain place, a group of people, a feeling inside you? And how can we create that feeling of home wherever we are in life?
That's such a great question to think about.
Yeah.
And as you keep going on your own journeys, remember that home isn't a finish line.
Right.
It's something we're always creating. It's
Yeah.
something we build and care for through our choices,
Right.
our connections, and our willingness to embrace what we don't know with an open heart and a curious mind.
This has been another deep dive. Thanks for joining us.